Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. I was impressed by the New Zealand Prime Minister resigning because she has no time. And she resigned when her popularity, when her acceptance was at the highest, not only nationally but internationally. As a matter of fact, a good leader should always know when to leave. It's a time for everything. And if the good leader doesn't leave, provided he's good, then it's for the party to see that the leader is dumped. Mr. Churchill was a great prime minister, but he was a wartime prime minister. But the moment war was over, he was dumped. People didn't hesitate. Unfortunately, here, people are saying, go, Trudeau, go, 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 but he's not going. At least I don't see any sign of his going right away. And if the Liberal Party wants to hold power, then it's for the party to dump him. Let's be very clear, anti-incumbency factor would ensure that the Liberals are defeated in the next election. But the opposition is so weak that if the leader of the Liberal Party is changed and a good leader comes, and I definitely do not mean that Deputy Prime Minister, she is worse, then they have to dump Trudeau. Of course, Trudeau won't go off his own, not yet anyway. And for many, there can be no doubt he has to go, provided parties desirous of having a shot at retaining power in the next federal election. And not a few Grits believe their leader needs to head for the exit. Is he heading? No. Now you might think, why should he leave? The reasons for his leaving are infinite and absolutely incontestable. At least I can need not mention a dozen or more reasons for him to leave. But the three main reasons which any good leader should have are there, and he should leave. The first is he has reached his best before date. The expiry date has come. 10 years as a Liberal leader, nearly 8 years as the Prime Minister. By any historical standard prevalent in Canada, that's a long run. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. In reality, if Trudeau leaves today, he can go as a 3-time winner. And if I were him, or I was his advisor or a handler, I would tell him, look here, go while the people still, at least a large minority, think that you're good. Let not even that large minority become a minuscule minority for you to go unhonored, unwept, unsung. One should always resign when one going is good. I remember when I resigned as a GM of a company, when I went to the corporate sector as general manager, and then they were going to promote me to CEO, and I resigned. Everybody was aghast. Somebody asked me why I'm resigning, and my reply has been deemed to be a classic reply in the Indian corporate circles. And when Ratan Tata met me, he quoted when he wanted to leave his chairmanship of. I said, one should go when people ask why you are going, or rather when you are going. Because when you are going would be followed by kicking out. Now, time has come when the people are saying, when are you going? So you should go. But if it doesn't go, then the next step would be there. And the electorate may not take it kindly, and the possibility of the Liberals retaining the government power might just vanish into thin air. So this is the main reason he has reached his best before date. And anything after the best before date is still, you know that. I don't have to tell you that. Expiry date is always there when you buy anything. Second, he is very clearly disengaged. He has built a cocoon around him. He never meets his caucus, the Liberal MPs. He very rarely meets him, the cabinet ministers. And he is increasingly described, including the just released Sour Grapes manifesto by his former Finance Minister Bill Monell. And he describes him as aloof and distant. It appears to many people that he is bored with the job. And the sort of life that I see when President Xi talks, Modi talks, or Trump used to talk, you are exuding life. He doesn't show that. He looks as if something has been thrust on him. And that's not a good sign for a leader. So that's the second main reason. And when you are not engaged, rather you are disengaged, then the best thing is to pack up your bags. Third, he is dragging down his party. The leaders are supposed to uplift, enhance the image, sharpen the focus of the party. And Justin Trudeau is not doing that. And this is the main reason that should most preoccupy the team Trudeau. For weeks, the Bolivia Conservatives have been inching ever upward in the poll. And let me tell you, Bolivia is not a good leader. He is, at least till now, not shown any sign of innovation. And the Conservatives are really not very enchanted with him, but he's the elected leader, so he has to be given a chance. Anyway, despite the fact that he doesn't have that charisma, he doesn't have that magnetism which Harper had, the Conservative Party is slowly and steadily inching upward. All the polls, opinion polls and Gallup polls, are showing that every day there is a baby step and the public is getting more disenchanted with Trudeau. And naturally the second choice is Bolivia. Nobody wants pig meat. Let's be very clear. So, right now, Prime Minister Trudeau is losing, Liberal Party is losing, and primarily because of Trudeau being the Prime Minister. Take a look at the latest nano numbers. I saw the results. They came on January 12th. And nano is one of the best pollsters around, in North America at least. Very reliable, very honest, and authentic. And there's no hanky-panky about that. They took the political pulse of 1,000 Canadians randomly and released the results on January 12th. The results find and give a very revelatory As I said, I was saying, they are very revealing. There is now an 8-point gap between Tories and Grits, Conservatives. Tories stand at 36%, Conservatives 28% respectively. Now 36% and 20%. Now, even if I believe that there is a possibility of error, normally statistically the error would be 3%. So the difference of this huge 12%, 8%, even if I take 3% out, it will be 5%. But if there can be advantage Trudeau 3%, it can be advantage Conservatives also 3%. So 8% can be 11%, it can be 5%. So it is okay. Now, can you believe that till the election time, the disenchantment of the people with Trudeau would not increase, especially when recession is around the corner? If the Liberal Party was realistic, what they should do is the present top leadership totally, not only the Prime Minister, but the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, they should be removed. They should be given goodbye and told, look here, you have worked very hard. We appreciate it, and now is the time for you to rest. And depending on now the attitude of Jagmeet and NDP, they are 21%. That means Pierre Poilievre is getting closer to winning. But one thing more interesting, the way polls are, he won't be winning a minority government. He'll be narrowest of the majorities, but it will be majority government. People have seen that NDP under Jagmeet has been trying to take its pound of flesh, though they have not been successful. But then they have been trying. Nothing wrong with that. Politics is that game. But since the possibility of the Conservatives getting a majority government, howsoever slim the majority may be, it will be a big throwback for the Liberal Party. Now, Nano doesn't say, but we can safely assume that the usual considerations are at play. The party brand, the popularity of the party leader, these two things are down, clear. And as I said earlier, Prime Minister Trudeau is dragging the party down. Yes and no. But let me be also playing the devil's advocate. Well, many people obviously and very justifiably dislike Trudeau. The other fact needs to be factored into decision making about his retirement. And that I already hinted. People don't like Justin very much, but they like Pierre even less. The Conservative leader, as I said, doesn't have that charisma, he doesn't have the magnetism, he doesn't have the appeal which a Prime Minister should have. And that is the only saving grace that Trudeau can continue. But whether you believe Nano or not, whether you think he is right or wrong, but the reality is that 30% Canadians do favor Justin Trudeau. That's undeniable. And that is despite all these scandals and missteps. So I must say Trudeau has got 30% people with him. And Pierre's popularity is just 28%. But looking at the policies and the incumbency and the best before date, Poilievre wants. At least he hasn't taken any misstep as yet. There's been no corruption charge against him. So herein lies a paradox. Trudeau's party is losing ground against the conservative option. Yes. This is happening because of Trudeau himself. Yes. But when the choice is about the leadership, Trudeau wins. This means that Conservative Party has more money, is better organized, has a right priorities, economy, the cost of living, all big advantages. If the leader was of the level of Harper, there would be no doubt that in the elections Liberals would be a third party, as they once were at the time of Harper, and DP was second party. For reasons that are hard to define and therefore hard to fix. Canadians don't like the man. But the only factor is, which goes in his favor, is that he's new and he has not passed his expiry date. It's not necessary because he really smiles and is always pushing the fear button as opposition leader. It's not because he seems to be angry so often. As a matter of fact, Harker was an angry young man of Canadian politics and won a majority. So, fairly or not, the country's biggest problem is something ineffable, something no polyester is defined. And when his opposition is someone as disliked by Justin Trudeau, that's a big problem. We don't need Nano to answer that. We know it. Today, Liberal Party has all the winning cards, but the biggest losing card they also hold is Justin Trudeau. If Justin Trudeau is dumb, you can guarantee that the Liberals will have the fourth term of rule. Under Justin Trudeau, what Liberals would have to do is to run the dirtiest, nastiest, most negative campaign in the current history. Because under Trudeau, that's their only hope. It might work, but it should be bad day for the country, bad day for the nation. It should be a disaster. Actually, we are choosing between a disaster and a calamity. But then, disasters and calamities, you can't decide which one is better. Still, the expired products are always having more negative votes than the untried ones. Let's see how that can work. But if the Liberals want definitely to retain power, let them take the decisive step. Thank you.